Alrighty, so I didn't get a video in last week. It might even be 2 weeks. I didn't look at the date of the last video I did. But I do have a whole bunch of stuff to go over. This might be a pretty long video. I'm gonna try and make it as fast as possible. A couple things that I can go over, and a couple things that I'm just gonna have to explain. But the things that I've got working and that I can show are the crafting and deconstruction screens. Then I also added some changes to the melee and then added a couple spells. Um, and then there's a couple things that I'll just have to explain, like I said. So first, just to show, right now, all I have is this one weapon, Identity Crisis. I'm going to craft a weapon, so you'll be able to see another weapon pop up in here once it's all done. In my items screen, you can see that I have just these healing potions and the veggies. Those are just completely random things that I picked for testing purposes. But here's the crafting screen. Probably going to change this all around, much like all of the other screens, really. I've just been kind of trying to get the basic logic together of everything working. But the way this works is clicking on any of these categories. So, like bows here or axes, I can click this drop down to go through every single possible thing that I could ever craft in axes. Anything I don't have the recipe for yet is in this unreadable text, and clicking any of them just doesn't do anything. But clicking this Sylvium Combat Axe, which is a recipe that I have, so I can read that I have it, clicking on that shows what you need to craft that item. Anything in green is something that you have enough of to craft that item, so you need to have all of them green to be able to craft it. This number in the parentheses here is how many that I have currently of that item, and the number on the left is how many that I need to craft it. So having all of them allows you to click on this craft item button, and once you click it, it uses up those items. If, like in this case, it uses all of, or uses any of them to the point where you don't have enough to craft the item. So now I have 0 of these items and it needs 1. That item goes gray. So now all of these are gray because I don't have enough. And then this craft item button isn't clickable anymore because I don't have enough to make it. So you can go into here and see that now I don't have all of those healing potions. The veggies are gone. And so it used up those items to make the axe. And now in the weapon screen I have this axe here. So the crafting screen and all of its logic is working great. I do have some bugs with the deconstruction screen. So this isn't going to work properly, but it's the same basic layout. The difference here is that the drop downs here only show stuff that you have. So I don't have any bows, so it's not showing anything here. Going into the axe, you can see the Sylvan Combat Axe that I just made. So clicking on that shows you what things you'd get for deconstructing it. Again, these are completely random IDs numbers. You're not going to be getting potions for just deconstructing an axe, but clicking on this will give me a bunch of items. So now I have all of these items in my inventory. And then it should be taking that Sylvian Combat Axe out of here. There's something wrong with the logic. I haven't looked at it yet, but my first guess is that there's something wrong with the ID. Because this ID is really close to that one, so I'm thinking maybe it's making one from a different ID instead of looking at this. Neither here nor there. I think that'll be a pretty easy fix, but the general idea is working. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really happy that's all working. I kind of moved away from that after I had that quote unquote working, like a week or two ago. And then I added another thing that is actually kind of broken as well. Were some melee changes. So this is a little bit complicated to explain, but I'll try and do my best here. So the way the melee system is going to work is there is an animation, right? So you're doing your attack swing. Right when your attack swing gets to like the apex of where it would be hitting, that's when this hitbox appears, that little red box that blinks in and out. Um, so, so okay. So you have your attack speed animation, essentially. So each weapon has an attack speed, and after a certain point of that attack speed number has been reached in terms of frames, then that hitbox appears, and then you go through your cooldown before you can attack again. Long-winded explanation of you can attack in a fairly realistic way. Excuse me. Okay, so the things that I changed are that when you attack, and this is something that isn't working right now. But when you attack, your move speed slows significantly, so you can move around a teeny tiny bit while you're attacking, but it's not going to be enough to like totally reposition yourself and then like just hold the attack button and move around. The general idea is that you're sort of rooted in place while you're attacking, which kind of makes sense. You shouldn't be like swinging this giant greatsword and running around at the same time. I think the way I'm probably gonna have it work is that the smaller the weapon, or the smaller the essentially the smaller the weapon, the more you'll be able to move around. So the less of a hindrance on your move speed it'll be. Um, so yeah, so you slow down when you're attacking. The other change that I added is hitbox sizes. So right now this weapon has kind of the big two-hander weapon hitbox. This Sylvium Combat Axe has the tiny itty bitty hitbox. And then there's just kind of different positions essentially for the hitbox to be taking. Like either a really close one like this, or a really long one like that two-hander. And then some of them are like separated, so it's this size of a hitbox, but it's like way out here. So, and that's for things like flails, or I think there's a halberd weapon. So the halberds, the way I'm imagining a halberd, really the axe is kind of the damaging part of a halberd, not really the pole. So if you were to hit something with the pole, it's not really going to do anything. I guess it would hurt to get hit with a pole, but really the idea is that you're hitting with the axe. Probably a better example is like a flail. So I have a flail weapon. The chain that leads to the ball at the end of the flail is not doing anything. The chain isn't going to actually hurt. The ball part is what hurts. So you try and hit things with the ball. So that hitbox is just going to be out here. The space between the character and the hitbox, nothing's going to get damaged in there. So you kind of have to like position those weapons correctly and be in the correct distance away to actually be hitting stuff. But the trade-off there is that they're going to be doing huge amounts of damage if you actually hit in the right spot. Anyway, so kind of sucks that I can't show those off because it's not working right now. You can kind of see it. The hitbox is like getting absorbed into my character or something. I don't know what's happening there. That is actually pretty good transition. I can say why that's probably happening. I changed a bunch of the collision detection, like the way the move speed works, and a whole bunch of like damage calculations. Damage calculations for the player, damage calculations against enemies, enemies towards the player. Basically, I just added the damage resistance logic and the damage types. So weapons can either do physical, fire, water, air, earth, life, or death damage, and there are also essentially armor values for each of those types. Somewhere in there, I can only assume I messed up the logic for this. I also had to change the way the collision boxes were working around a whole bunch because I had enemies as triggers. And then the melee attack was triggers, and there were some issues with those two trying to collide. So I had to move stuff around, and it's messing up, apparently. So, huge long explanation that probably makes no sense, and was probably fruitless trying to explain. But that's just stuff I got in. I just kind of wanted to have it in the video. And the next thing on my list here, it looks like, is spells. So that's what I've been working on for basically this whole week. I think I might have started at the end of the last week, but I think I've added 15 or 20 spells now. Most of them are pretty simple, but I'm excited about it because they're going a lot faster than I thought they might. Uh, the 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 downside of everything right now, unfortunately, is that I know I am not doing it in a very efficient way, and the code is not well organized right now. It's not bad. I don't think it's terrible. I don't think I should be like put into prison for how terribly I'm writing the code, but it's definitely not good, and it's definitely not organized the way I would probably want it to be. So bad news is that I'm probably going to end up having to do a lot of work reorganizing things. Um, and I probably have said this at some point, but the big problem with that, and it's weird recognizing that that's not a good way to do it, but I have come to the conclusion that trying to make everything perfectly before I move on or before I even start doing stuff is almost impossible for me to do because I don't know how a lot of this stuff is going to work until I've done it. So trying to think of how something has to work without really knowing how it works is really difficult for me to do. um, and another big thing is I'm kind of making stuff up as I go along. I have a really basic idea of how this game is going to work, and all of the specifics have been stuff that I have just kind of tossed in at the last second. Um, Again, because I don't want to spend months and months trying to plan everything out and have everything working like on paper, and then figure out that it doesn't work quite that way when I'm trying to code it, or having anything change and then yeah. So it's weird recognizing that the kind of the better way of doing it doesn't work because I'm one person, and trying to go through and think of everything before I do it is just not feasible time wise, I think. I totally went on a tangent there, but um, the gist I'm trying to get at is the spell system is wonky right now. The way it is coded is a little awkward, but I'm making it work really well, I think. And once I can move it around and have it in better essentially it just looks bad. The code just looks bad is what I'm trying to get at here. Okay, whatever. Stop talking about that. It doesn't matter. So one of my favorite abilities is actually this guy, Draining Blows here. So this one, when you use it, I'll move this over here so you can actually see what it's doing, kind of. So this one, the base. This is one of the mage spells that you can get. So and I probably explained this. I am probably repeating myself a million times over in these videos, but the mage system for spells is that there are spells, and then mages have the ability to alter the spells. So this spell in particular, whenever you attack, there's lingering damage at the end of your melee range. So it's kind of just like a little windstorm that happens at the end of your melee attack. And then it just kind of moves around. Wherever you melee, it would go to the spot that you just meleeed at. And anything that goes into it takes some damage over time. And just keep ticking damage. So, this is a mage altered spell. The base spell is a wind or air spell. And this spell is death added to that. So, instead of it being just that you activate the buff and then whenever you attack, it gives this little thing at the end of your melee reach. You charge it up. So I hold the key to be doing it, and you can see this number constantly going up over here in the console. So this is how much damage it's going to do when the enemies go over it, but it also hurts me every time it deals damage. So it's going to do 9 damage to me and 36 to the enemy. Let me make sure I have a weapon on. Boop. So this little green thing right here is the damage. Oh, I messed up the damage resistance. Damn it. So you can see while they're going through it, it's dealing damage to them. Like I said earlier, I had messed with damage resistances, and apparently I didn't do a great job with it. I thought it was working, but anyway, it's what it's supposed to do is hurt the enemy, and the idea behind the spell is that it does a huge amount of damage to the enemy the more you charge it up, but it starts dealing a lot of damage to you as well. So the more you charge it up, the faster it's going to kill something, but the faster it's going to kill you. Yeah, so that's that. I really like this spell just in general, having this little thing leaving there. This other spell that I added, Lava Step, is pretty similar. While you are moving, it makes these little lava pools behind you where you have walked, and they vary in size, and they just stay there for a couple of seconds. This one I think is doing damage. I think I tested this one. Yeah, so while he's sitting in there, he's just constantly ticking damage for 2. So while he stays in there, he's just going to keep taking damage. Enemies don't have attack animations or attack logic right now, so I need to do that. Another thing I added are the little health bars. They're not perfect. I actually kind of like how they look the more I've looked at it right now, but yeah, they're just kind of placeholders right now. Another thing I added, the collision logic for enemies when you hit them, they were just pushing you to the left no matter where you were. Right now, it kind of pushes you sort of in the opposite direction of where you came in. They are squares. Their collision box is a square, and so is mine. So it's a little weird when you go in and hit them. Sometimes it'll push you in a direction that doesn't totally make sense. Like that one, I kind of came from the right, and it's pushing me down a little bit. So I have to work with that a little bit. But so we got Lava Step, we got Draining Blows. Those are 2 of the cool ones. Let's see, what else did I put in here? Grumble. This one might not be working either. This one I like. So this spell is the same thing where it puts the little thing at the end of your melee reach, but it's the Earth version added in. So this one, whenever the enemy comes in, they get stacking damage resistance, so they take less damage until they reach 100% damage resistance, and then they take double damage from all sources. So they take almost no damage at first. Damn it, the damage resistance is fucked up with this too. So they take almost no damage from the initial version of it, and then they take double damage. So the idea is to just kind of ramp up their damage and then hurt them a lot while they have this kind of debuff on them. And there's a couple other ones that I've added. I think most of them are kind of boring. Not really anything to show off necessarily. They're mostly just like move speed. I think I've been doing a lot of the move speed ones. Yeah, and like attack speed. Not really doing anything right now because I don't have the attack speed values working properly. This one's pretty cool though. It you keep gaining move speed while you're moving in a direction. Obviously you're not going to ever really be able to move that fast, but and I need to change it. There's nothing to collide with right now. All of the sections are just empty, but I'm going to have it so that when you collide with something, it stops the move speed bonus. So you won't ever really be getting super movement speed, but there is a potential if you're really good at navigating that you can actually get fast move speed. And this version in particular, as you gain move speed, you gain bonus damage resistance. And then once you like lose the buff, it just gives you that damage resistance for a couple seconds. So potentially the idea behind this one would be kind of running into a really tough, strong enemy with this buff active, and then right when you get to them, you'd stop, get the super damage resistance, and just smack the crap out of them. Yeah. So, like I said, I've got a couple of spells. I don't think I have the them hard-coded to be usable right now, so I can't really show them, but just some like attack speed ones, so they just give you flat attack speed, or they give you a percent of attack speed. Some flat movement speed ones, and yeah, and just a couple variants of those. Yeah, I think that's basically everything I've done. It was kind of hard to remember exactly what I've changed. Yeah, so next week and really for the foreseeable future, I'm gonna be just kind of adding spells. Trying to get them as many as I can in. Next week I am actually gonna fix a couple of those problems now that I know they're there. The deconstruction thing. I need to fix the melee system, whatever the heck I did that messed that up. And then there's another thing I already forgot what it was. But yeah, so I'm gonna work on fixing those things. Just keep popping spells in and getting those working. Oh, damage resistance was the other thing. Man, this is like the most bumbling video I've had yet. So yeah, I another thing, since this is already 21 minutes long, who cares if it's longer? I I really need to be working on the website because I want to have these videos available for people to be going through, and I want to kind of sort of start making hype, as it were. But I think I'm not quite at a point where I want the game to be known yet. So I'm probably going to be waiting a bit until I start doing that. That said, I'd like to have started on the website at some point soon, just so like I don't have to be working on it until then get it done. I think probably I'm going to be finishing the spells. And then I have to do a lot of the weapon stuff and armor. Once I've gotten those in, and there's like an actual game. Actually, no, I don't know why I'm trying to think that far in the future. It doesn't matter. Jeez, this is such a stupid, bumbly video. Okay, whatever. I'm done. Got all those things in. Lots of stuff working. Some stuff's buggy. Got a lot more stuff to add. That's where we're gonna stop it. Okay, next week I'll have another video. This is dumb.